Lord, we are grateful that you've given us the opportunity to share the word and understand it, but we know that we can't do that without your Holy Spirit doing something. And I thank you for giving me this message when you did and for allowing me to hear it tonight once again. And I pray that you would preach it to me, through me. That you would remind me of what you said 2 months ago and what you are continuing to say. I pray that you would allow this entire audience to look far past me, that they might see more of you every single day. I pray that you would let it be known that you're God, that I'm your servant, and that I'm saying all these things according to your word and not my own. Would you hear us so that all the people of earth may know, and what you do tonight here at Kent State, all the people of earth may know that you're God, that you love them, and that you want their hearts turned toward you. And we pray that you would do that. I pray that by the time we finish, we would know that Jesus has spoken, and we would be willing and ready by your grace to obey. I pray that you do that in Jesus' name. Amen. So I was here probably 4 weeks ago, something like that, speaking at Impact in this same room, standing in this same spot, which is really remarkable to me that God would do that, because I'm doing with you all, us, the same thing that I did with them. Normally when I come, I'm preaching right where I am in the text, and right now I'm in 2 Kings personally, but the Lord gave me this message for this night 2 months ago. So in September, 2 months ago, the Lord gave me this message, and I wrote down in my Bible, Kent State. If you don't believe me after this, I can show it to you. Kent State was written right there. And the original title of the message was Just Do It, Part 3. And you might be thinking, how do you have a Part 3? Where's 1 and 2? And the Lord had used different passages to give me 1 and 2. And so he gave me 3 other words to give you tonight, and those 3 words are keep moving forward. So if you're a note taker and you're like, hey, I want a title to the sermon, it's keep moving forward. This summer, one of the things that we do as City Kids is called the heptathlon. It's a 7-leg race, and as a part of that 7-leg race, there's this opportunity for 2 campers to take a tractor tire, and they have to flip that tractor tire. And then they go to the back of the line, and then 2 more flip it, and then they go to the back of the line, and then 2 more flip it. And they have to do that 15 times. All right, and this is after doing 7 military team push-ups where you link to one another and do push-ups, doing 10 pull-ups as a team, running up this giant hill, and then they do this, right? And so a young man who goes to this prestigious institution, Kent State University, who is in a room right down the hall, I just saw him, his name is Caleb Broadus, was coaching that session. And as he was coaching, he was yelling at his team, keep moving forward, because it's a race. And so as they were flipping the tire, they flipped the tire, and then they would just stand there instead of moving out of the way and moving the back of the line. So the line kept getting further and further away from the tire, and he just kept screaming, keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And so as I'm watching this happen, at one point, I stop. I look at Caleb, who he and I had talked about his future and his life, and he's a senior here at Kent State, and he doesn't know what he's doing afterwards. And I said, just make sure that you hold on to those 3 words that you keep shouting at these kids. Because the thought is you're doing that as a coach and you want them to keep moving forward. But when you return to Kent State, when you go forward because you're not going back, just remember to keep moving forward. And so you know how sometimes you say something to somebody and you think it's for them, but the Lord really has it for you, but you just knew you was killing it because you was telling them something? That is tonight. When I wrote this message, when I wrote down this stuff in my Bible, it's like, man, I cannot wait to share this with them at Kent State. And over the last week, the Lord has made this the message that I need to hear. And so I think before I even jump into it, I got to give you context of this, and I got to give you context as to why this makes sense to me. In this passage, the people of Israel have been delivered from Egypt. They've been in the wilderness for 40 years. God is getting ready to move them into the promised land. They go spy out the promised land, and they see giants, but they see really good fruit. And they see a land that flows with milk and honey, but when they come back, the report from the majority of them is, hey, this land is awesome, but we can't take it because there are giants over there, and the land devours the people, and so we can't do that. The crazy thing is, God had already told them that's where he wanted them to be. But they were basically telling each other and telling God, nah, man, you can't do that. I don't know if you've ever been there where you're looking at God and telling him he got the wrong person and choosing you, where you're telling him he don't know what he's doing, but he God, which it don't make a whole lot of sense to do that, but we do it all the time. So as I look at this passage, you need to know that what they've done is rebelled against the Lord. They've given this bad report, and as they give this bad report, that's why verse 1 says, all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night, because they were like, yo, we can't do it. Even though God said we can do it, even though God said he would be our leader, even though God said he would be the one that bring the victory, they basically say we can't make it happen. So those of you who know our story know that I have a son who will be 8 by God's grace in December, who has been struggling with FIRES. FIRES is febrile illness-related epileptic syndrome. Nomenclature for it was established 2 years ago. It's really an unknown illness. They don't know where it came from. They don't know how it works, but it ravages a person's body. And so for the last 2 years, we have been believing that God would heal him, because when he first got sick, June 1st, 2017, my wife asked God 2 questions. Question number 1, will he die? And the Lord said no. And then the Lord said 2 things to her after that. He said, this is the beginning of a giant blessing. And then he said he's already healed. And so the Lord did not tell me those 2 things. He told that to my wife. I trust my wife, that my wife trusts the Lord. And so I believe that the Lord said that. Lo and behold, several weeks later, maybe even a year later, I believe that the Lord told me it would be 3 years until we see whatever he's getting to do. And so if it was June 1st, 2017, as you can imagine, June 1st, 2020 is coming very rapidly. And so I started freaking out on the Lord, like, yo, he's still laying in the bed. Like when I left you, he still was laying in the bed, has been sick all week long, has been vomiting all week long. And we went to the hospital on Halloween, October 31st. And I've been saying to the Lord, how in the world are you going to do this? Like you said 3 years, and if you truly said 3 years, how in the world are you going to do this? He still is lying in his bed as if the one who invented time can't make that happen. Well, on October 31st, when we were talking to the doctors, they said, hey, let's get his trach out. Tracheostomy, if you don't know what that is when they put a hole in your throat, they put a little tube in there, and that's what you breathe through. And they said, so let's get it out. If he's been doing really well, let's take it out. And we were like, all right. They was like, let's take it out as soon as possible. You know how the doctors are, so when they say as soon as possible, that means 6 months. Well, they said, let's take it out, and then they gave us 2 weeks, because he gets it out tomorrow morning at 11:30. And so when that happened, I started freaking out, because I'm like, whoa, like, hold up. Like, I don't know that you really want to do that. I've been pushing for it, begging for it, asking God to do it. And now when God's ready to do the miracle, what am I doing? I'm pulling a Martha from John chapter 11. Hey, by now he stinks. You ain't been here in 4 days. You need to chill out. Like, that's what I'm doing, right? We talked to his epileptologist. I've been begging God to let us wean all of the medication that he's on. The epileptologist said, hey, let's wean another medication. I'm like, hold up, man. We don't know what the last wean did. So God is ready to move, and I'm the one standing in the way going, but we can't make it happen, just like these people are. And so he told us to wait a week and if we wanted to wean another med. And so as I confessed to Dominique, I confessed to my wife, I was just like, man, I had a Martha moment. So that a week later, which would have been this past Thursday, we went ahead and weaned another medication. Well, when you wean phenobarbital, generally what happens is nausea is one of the side effects. And so Judah began to throw up. Vomit. That probably didn't sound as Christian as it should have been. But anyway, Judah began to get sick. And as he began to get sick, as you can imagine, my wife and I watching him, it was just terrible. So it's like, yo, God, is this really what you're doing to us right now? Like, can you choose to do something else? This message is going to be absolutely raw emotion at some level. So it ain't planned. You just getting what God gave me and what I'm processing right now. I was reading in 2 Kings chapter 7, verse 1, the healing of a man named Naaman. And what the Lord gave me this morning and what he shared with me is coming to mind now, so I'm sharing it with you. He said to me, and it's true, healing, there is a way to receive healing. But the question is not, is there a way? The question is, do I want healing by any means necessary? Or do I want healing the way that I want healing? And if I want healing the way that I want healing, it may not come that way. If I want God to move in the way that I want God to move, if I really am like, God, do whatever you want in my life, then he gets a chance to do whatever he wants in my life. But if I'm saying, no, do whatever you want, but what I really mean is, hey, look, man, there's only 10 things I want you to do. You need to pick one of them. You need to pick one of these 10 because that's really what I'm all about. That's where the people of Israel are. Even though God has made them a promise, even though they have the promise in front of them, they're backing up from the promise. And I see that same thing in my life. And I would be the first often to hate on the Israelites and be like, man, y'all had a promise from God. You heard from God. You watched him like toss the Red Sea up and split it. You seen all these miracles. What's wrong with you? But I happen to live the same life. Because often what's staring in front of me as I stare at my son day to day, I can't see the healing because I'm not looking with eyes of faith. All I can see is him having seizures and emesis in front of me. And so 3 things I want to share with you this evening that the Lord has shared with me, and they are more to me, so you're about to watch me have a conversation with myself practically. But thing number 1, and keep moving forward, you need to focus on the call and not the challenges ahead of you. You notice that they weep and then they say, hey, we wish that you would let us die, that we would have died in the land of Egypt, or that we would have died in the wilderness. They know slavery really, really well. They know not having what they want really, really well. Sometimes we're afraid to tell God what we want because we're afraid to be disappointed. And so we won't even really pray about what he wants. And we won't really pray about what we want because we think he's not good enough of a father to give it to us. I just want to remind you of something I said standing here several weeks ago. God killed his son to get to you. I don't think he's sitting in heaven going, don't ask me for what you want. Like the whole purpose of him giving Jesus for us in order that we might have a relationship with him, that our desires might be conformed into his. But as our desires are being conformed, sometimes you can ask for something that you want, and he's more than happy to give it to you. In fact, he says to David, when David goes and sleeps with Bathsheba, I gave you all these things, and if that wasn't enough, I would have given you more. God's issue is not with the stuff that you get. God's issue is with us wanting the stuff more than him. And so here in this passage, if you can keep moving forward, you got to focus on the call and not the challenge. Look at verse 3. Why is the Lord bringing us into this land and fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become plunder. Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt? What's crazy is you were slaves in Egypt. So you telling me you would rather go to the place where God promised you victory to go back to the place where you were a slave? Why would you do that? I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I know the answer. I know what Judah having seizures looks like. I know what struggling every day as I get up, and sometimes I return home as I did yesterday to hear a night nurse who's with him tell me that he struggled all night long. I know what that's like. I don't really know what freedom is like anymore. And it's almost more scary at times to have freedom than it is to have bondage, because you know what bondage is like. I mean, when they're in Egypt, they know they can't ask for nothing. Y'all know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's a little bit easier to be in a place where you know you're not going to get what you want than to be in a place where you can pretty much ask for anything. Because what happens when you ask for anything and you don't get what you actually want? And so this is where they are. And instead of focusing on the call ahead of them, that God telling them to keep moving forward and to go forward, they focus on every single challenge, every single reason not to do it, versus on all of the reasons to do it. So if you don't hear me saying anything else tonight, you need to hear me saying, keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. There are some of us in this room right now, if we were to be honest, there is sin in our life. There is this burning desire from the Holy Spirit for us to confess it openly and honestly and transparently. And we thinking, no, you lost your everlasting mind. There's no way I can tell people where I've been or what I've done. They will begin to think that I'm somebody that I don't think I am. Well, the reality is if you did it, you did it. And at some level, you got to come clean. If the gospel is true, if God really made a world for himself where he wants us to be in relationship with him, if he really sent Jesus to die for sin, if Jesus really did hang and bleed and die for you and really rose on the third day and really is seated at the right hand of God the Father in majesty on high, and he did that for your sin, if that's really true, then ultimately Jesus Christ came to call sinners. He came to call people who actually can be honest about where they fail. He says himself, I did not come to call the righteous, I came to call sinners to repentance. He's not saying that there are actually people who are righteous. What he's more so communicating is, I came to call the people who recognize what's already broken in them. In Greek, the word confess is homologia. You probably know homo and logic. It's those two words that go together, but it really is the idea of same word or same reason, same idea. It's agreeing with God with what he already knows. Saying, God, you know I can't get to you on my own, and you know that I fail you constantly. I need you to do something for me that I cannot do for myself. Some of us have friends. Some of us are in this room right now, have friends that the Holy Spirit has moved us to say, share the gospel with them. He's pushing you and he's pressing you and he's prodding you to have that conversation. And you're afraid of having that conversation and you're giving him every single challenge. What if they don't listen? What if they turn their back? What if they do listen? What if they believe the gospel? What if their eternity is changed by what you do? Because ultimately, God knows what he wants to do. As I said to an audience of young people a few weeks ago, what if the world really is waiting for us to tell them about Jesus? It's not that they don't want to hear it. It's that they're waiting for us to tell them. What if we walked around believing everybody we saw was somebody who needs and wants to hear the gospel? They're just waiting for us to share it with them. How much different would life look? This text lets us know this second piece. They focused on the call and not the challenge. The second one is what I need to do. I need to focus on obedience and not the obstacles. Notice verses 6 and 7. Joshua and Caleb tear their clothes, and they say to all of the congregation, the land which we pass through is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us into the land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. Listen, only do not rebel against the Lord. Do not fear the people, for they will be prey for us. All he's saying is, look, he's not asking you to do something that he thinks you can do. He's asking you to do something that he knows you cannot do, only so he can do it for you. Man, I needed that. So, all right. Yeah. So I'm going to the hospital with Judah tomorrow. And I have no clue what will await us there. However, what the Lord has continued to remind me of is his providence places me where he wants me to be so that I can join him wherever he's going to be working. So there may be some conversation that God already knows I need to have, that I'm going to have tomorrow, that I don't know I'm going to have yet, but he's done what he's done to place us there tomorrow. So Sunday, so my wife and I got a new vehicle, and when we say new, it's just different because it's not completely new. But anyway, so I went to, so we bought it about an hour and 15 minutes from our house, and I went Sunday afternoon to pick it up. And I had already picked up the new vehicle. I had left another vehicle there. Anyway, long story short, my wife and I get in a vehicle. We drive an hour and 15 minutes to pick this vehicle up. And when we pull up to the vehicle, I recognize that I left the keys to the vehicle at the house. I was so mad I didn't know what to do. I was just like, Lord, this is crazy. Not to mention, my daughter Susanna was vomiting during the night on Saturday night. And then when we got up Sunday, one of my other kids got sick. I can't remember which one, but like kids were sick in the house. Judah was already sick. I was just like, this is nuts. They hadn't called to tell us when I would be at the hospital with Judah. I knew I would be here tonight, so I was just like, man, this week is already, like, my brain is about to explode, and I'm ready to hit something, all right? All of that happened yesterday morning. So I joined Facebook in September because the Lord told me to. Notice I'm focusing on we're talking about focusing on the obedience and not the obstacle. And so I joined Facebook in September because the Lord told me to. Yesterday morning, I was really frustrated, and I was in front of the Word, and the Lord brought Habakkuk chapter 3, verse 17 to mind, that basically says, though all of these bad things are happening, yet I will rejoice. So I decide I'm going to just post that. So I just let it all out, and I post it. As that happens, immediately, and this is like 7 o'clock a.m. This is right after our night nurse comes up to me and he says, Judah had a terrible night, and he tells me all these things. And I'm just like, Lord, this is really frustrating because we really thought we were obeying you. And I'm finding it to be way more difficult than I thought it would be. You ever done that? Where you obey, you do exactly what God tells you to do, but somebody lied to you and told you it should be easy if you're obeying God? I don't know who told us that. That ain't nowhere in the Bible, but that's what we think. I still think it too. And so I'm really frustrated, and so I go ahead and post this thing. And so after I post this thing, people start responding. And a mom sends me this message that she was in yoga thinking about her son and praying for her son, and was really frustrated where her son is. She began to cry as she was in yoga, and she was so embarrassed that she was crying. She ran out to the car, and she just sat in the car, and she was really frustrated. And the first thing she pulled up happened on her phone. She looked at her phone, and the first thing she saw was my post. And so she hit me up and said, hey, I needed that. That was exactly what I needed. I needed that this morning. And several other people responded. And what was really cool is, if I had not driven an hour and 15 minutes, and if my kids were not vomiting, and if life was not really difficult, I'd have never posted that. So what God needed people to hear at that moment, and that specific moment of time, he allowed all those things to happen in my life in order to provide encouragement at that moment. Then I could be as frustrated as I wanted to be, but the really cool thing is by his grace, he allowed me to be an encouragement to somebody in all the hardship I was going through. And I began to recognize, I want to have my own life. I want to say my life belongs to the Lord, but man, I want to have my own life. I want to do what I want to do. I don't want to be subject to his providence. I would rather just do what I want. God hit me with so many convicting realities, because in life sometimes we just focus on all the things we can't do, not all the things that we can. We don't focus on the call, we focus on the challenge. We don't focus on obedience to God and walking with him. We focus on the obstacles. And we basically act like he doesn't. We act like my daughter, Charity, who last week, this was one of the dopest stories of my life. Sitting at the table, I got the word open. My daughter Charity is sucking her 2 fingers. She's so cute. She's sucking her 2 fingers. She's looking out the kitchen window, and she looks at me real concerned, and she goes, "Daddy, are Susie and Simeon still going to school?" And I said, "Yeah, baby. Why would you ask that question?" And she said, "But it's still dark outside." Now, this is like 7 a.m., right? Daylight saving time was like 10 minutes before that. And so she said, "It's still dark outside." I said, "Oh, baby, it's just dark outside. Because it's a cloudy day, but you need to know the sun is still shining." She looked at me, her eyes got real big, and then she was ready to cry, and she was like, "But Daddy, where's the sun?" And honestly, I was like, "Oh, it's behind the clouds, you just can't see it." Like, the sun never stops shining. You know that time when you kick in Revelation, but you have no clue that you kick in Revelation? Said the sun is always shining, sweetie. It's just we can't see it because of all of these dark clouds. It's just a stormy day, but I'm telling you, behind every single one of those clouds, the sun is sitting there shining and brightly, and the sun is never bothered by any of those clouds. So then she started saying something crazy, but I was just struck by the revelation. So I'm sitting there thinking, man, that's my life right now. With all these stormy clouds, the sun is still shining. My wife comes down, I begin to share it with my wife because I think I'm kicking the dopest revelation ever, and I'm like, she gonna love me for this. And then my wife goes, "Yeah, the reason Charity thought that is because she could only focus on what she could see in front of her." Then I almost threw my phone through the window because I was just like, yo, that's the dopest revelation of the morning right there. All she can see is the storm clouds. She can't see the sun. Fact is, here's the craziest part of it. The only reason she could see as much outside as she could is because the sun is still shining. The only reason you can see anything at night is because there's a reflection off the moon of the sun that's still shining, even at night when it doesn't seem like it. And it began to make me recognize, man, the sun is still shining in my heart and in my life too. God, I'm so sorry for thinking that when things are going wrong that the sun is not shining. It's just dark, stormy clouds. And I'm thinking that the sun's not shining because I'm so focused on what's right in front of me. Focused on the obstacle, not the obedience. Here's the third one that's the dopest truth that the Lord gave me. Focus on the truth and not the troubles. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7, we walk by faith and not by sight. I can tell you, I wish that was true for me all the time, but it ain't. Sometimes I walk by sight. I look at Judah and I go, God, are you for real? I know that you can do this. Are you going to do this? And he reminds me, just because he hasn't doesn't mean that he won't. And just because he won't doesn't mean that he can't. And I begin to understand I cannot do it. And he never said I could, but he can do it. And he always said he would. So if he said he's going to do it, all I got to do is trust and believe he's going to do it. My job is not to figure out the how. A lot of times we spend all of our time trying to figure out, God, how are you going to do this? How are you going to make this happen? That's not important because he already knows. The question is, who is he going to make us in the midst of that? Because that's what it's really about. At the end of the day, God could have healed Judah yesterday. God could have never let Judah get sick. The question is, would I know God like I know him now if he hadn't? And likely, if I'm going to be honest, the answer is no. Part of focusing on the truth and not the troubles is you see what happens here. Only don't rebel against the Lord, verse 9. Don't fear the people of the land that pray for us. Their protection has been removed from them, and the Lord is with us. Don't be afraid of them. What Joshua and Caleb are trying to communicate is God already said he's going to make this happen. God's not a liar. He can't do it. You just got to trust him. But all the congregation said, let's stone them with stones. And then do you see what happens? The glory of the Lord appeared in the tent of meeting to all of the sons of Israel. Here's what's really cool about that. He didn't just appear to Joshua and Caleb. He appeared to everybody. He let everybody know that he was there. When I talk about focus on the truth and not the troubles, sometimes I think what we tend to do is look at all of the things that are wrong with the picture. And we forget that God providentially is doing something in the midst of all of that wrong, all of that bad. How do I know that? Well, Isaiah 53 describes Jesus as a man of sorrows who was acquainted with grief, as somebody who was despised and rejected, and all of that bad, he then somehow brings about the salvation of entire people for himself. So if you're thinking your life is jacked up and God doesn't love you, fact is, this morning I got this text, which I'm going to see if I can pull this up. This is completely unscripted and impromptu, but I'm going to do it anyway. Bear with me just in case I can't find it, because I probably can't, because I can't remember how she sent it to me. But I got a text from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, I guess, that basically said, I don't want to be a Christian anymore because I don't feel like God loves me. It doesn't seem like he is for me. It doesn't seem like he's trying to do anything toward me. A friend says to me over text, hey, is there any scripture you would give her? Like, what would you say? I said, the first thing I do is take her to Psalm 22. Like the last time I was here, I talked about Psalm 22, where Jesus himself, that psalm is about Jesus. And the text says there is no one to help. Because for Jesus, that was true. I don't know if you ever thought about it, but even God would not, and dare I say, could not help Jesus when he was on the cross. Did he have the power? Sure he did, but the scriptures had to be fulfilled. Jesus says that in Matthew 26. I said I'd take her to Isaiah 53 and allow her to see that the Son of God, the person who suffered the most out of anybody, the Son of God, the person that God loves more than anybody, is the very one who suffered for her, in order that she might, in the midst of that suffering, know that she's not going through anything that the Father hasn't already been through, and that the Son hasn't already been through. I said I'd take her to Habakkuk chapter 3, verse 17. It says, though the fig tree is not blossoming, or however it said it, though all these things are barren, though nothing is going the way that I want it to go, is basically what Habakkuk says. He says, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. The Lord, my God, is my strength. And if I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes the reason I don't want to keep moving forward is because I know that as I move forward, God's going to continue to conform me into the very image of that Jesus. The Jesus who suffered for me, the Jesus who laid down his life, the Jesus who did not consider himself, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, the Jesus who made himself like a servant, the Jesus who was obedient even to the death on the cross. When I say focus on the truth and not the troubles, what I'm getting at is the reality that troubles are going to come. That's a part of this life. But when you focus on the truth, God is doing something in the midst of that. So never let another person's fear or another person's nightmare change what you believe about your dream. I'm going to say that one more time because the Lord gave me that. I wrote it down. Do not let another person's nightmare shatter or influence your dreams. Because ultimately, if they're all your dreams, I ain't pie in the sky talking about your dreams. Some of y'all want to do something you ain't going to do in life. That ain't the dreams I'm talking about. The dream I'm talking about is when God has said something like, I'm going to take you into this promised land. Don't let any other people's nightmares and them asking you how in the world he's going to make it happen or how you're going to make it happen. If it was about you, God would have made it about you. God didn't make it about you. It's about him. And one of the things that I have been reminded of as I go through this trial with Judah is the size of your God will always determine the intensity of your worship. You can't bury back there. I told me that, 15 years ago. And it's so true. Sometimes, y'all ever seen the analogy of somebody taking like a small object and then they put it up next to you and there's a car behind you and they'll say to you which one is bigger, the object or the car? And you're not quite sure what to say, even though in your head you know that the car is bigger, but the image is so close that you're like, well, I know that the car is bigger, but right now that cell phone looks a lot bigger than that car. Well, that's just a matter of perspective. And there are some of us that have been looking from under the sun and been looking from Earth's perspective for far too long. My challenge to me as I go to the hospital tomorrow, I'm not preaching to y'all a message that I ain't living today. Like today, as I go to the hospital tomorrow, as no matter what the doctors look at me and say, guess what I got to do? I got to keep moving forward. As you go through whatever you're going through, as you do whatever plan God gave you, whatever God said to you, you got to keep moving forward. If you're in here and you lost and you're like, I want to become a Christian, but I don't know what to do. I'm here to tell you that's the next step and keep moving forward. What about my family? What about? Keep moving forward. I said this, and I'm going to say this again because I think it's important. There are people who say I'm afraid of heights. There are people who say I'm afraid of spiders. There are people who say I'm afraid of a whole lot of stuff. The reality is a lot of us are not afraid of any of that. We're not afraid of heights. We're afraid of falling, getting hurt, and not recovering. We're not afraid of snakes, and we're not afraid of spiders. Some of y'all going, yes, I am. No, you're not. You're afraid of the venom that it carries, because that venom can bite you, and then you're not in control anymore to know what will happen to your body. That's why many of us are afraid of diseases. We're not afraid of the disease. We're afraid of being out of control. As I said to them, I'm standing in the same place in the same room. There's spotters in this room. Don't look for them. You ain't going to ever see them. But they're here. You're not afraid of them, and you weren't until I said something. Now you're starting to think, what if? What if one crawls up my arm and bites me? I won't become Spider-Man. I might die. You know who never has to play the what if game? God never has to play the what if game. He knows exactly where you are. He's known who you are since before he said, let there be light. Since before he spoke the world into existence, he knew you'd be sitting here. And don't you dare be arrogant enough to say, God doesn't love me. He doesn't care about me. Is that why he killed his own son? Would you kill your own kid to get to you? That can work. Would you kill your own kid to get to somebody else? If he killed his son to get to you, please don't dare be arrogant enough to say, you don't want to talk to me. I feel like you don't love me. No, he loves you way more than you ever could. He wants you to be conformed into the image of Jesus more than you do. He loves you more than you love you. The question really comes down to, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to keep moving forward no matter what you see because you walk by faith and not by sight? Or are you going to look at all of the obstacles and not the obedience, all of the challenges and not the call? Are you going to look at all the troubles? Or are you going to look at the truth that God already said what he's going to do? And he wants you to walk with him because that's what he's going to do. Father, in Jesus' name, we love you. Thank you so much for 2 months ago giving me that message and thinking it was going to be for them, and it's really for me. Because I definitely have struggled watching Judah and have many a time thought to myself, maybe we should put those meds back on. Maybe we shouldn't get this trick out. Maybe we shouldn't do these things. I thank you for the reminder to keep moving forward. I thank you that as much as I want to hate on the Israelites, I'm a lot like them. And I do it all the time. And I pray that you allow me to walk with you through this journey as you walk with me, because I know that it's where you're going. Thank you for not just sending me into the wilderness, but leading me into the wilderness. Thank you that your heart is just as broken over where Judah is. But behind that providence, that frowning providence, you had a smiling face. You know exactly what you're doing. And I don't like it all the time. But I know it's what's best. Because you're a good father. And so I pray that I would learn to trust you more and more each day, that we all would. That as you lay out for us what you desire, that we would not run from it. That we would embrace it. Knowing that if we can't get out of it, we need to get into it. I pray that you do that in Jesus' name.